All right, let's fly the standard distance measuring equipment, or DME arc. So we're going to fly out. Normally we'd be flying this from a different direction, and we'd wait until we're at the right distance, and wait until we're close enough, rather. But just because of where we ended up, we're going to be starting this from within the arc. So it's a little different, but that doesn't matter a whole ton. So this is what we're using to navigate right now, basically. So what we have is this outer arrow points towards our airport. This inner arrow is pointing the same direction as our runway that we want to be on. Which actually, I gotta adjust that back. It needs to be at, we need this at 005. So it indicates when we need to turn. So let me do that right now. So when we're at a 5-degree radial out from our TACAN station, our radio navigation station, it's going to center this other line and get us onto this line, and that's how we know when to turn. This is our distance, so we're 10.4 nautical miles from our airport's TACAN. When we hit about 12, we're going to turn left, and then we should be on the arc that we're intending to fly. And since we have some time, let's drop our altitude to about 2,400 feet. We want to maintain about 300 knots airspeed. I may not be able to watch, chat, or respond to this because this is one of the more taxing types of landings that there are. Because I have to basically fly blind with some instruments, and I have to end up in a fairly narrow cone and be able to pick up the localizer. Actually, we're in the wrong mode. We need to be in just TACAN. There we go. And we are descending below our cleared altitude. Let's get back up to our altitude. All right, altitude hold. We flew too far out. We're gonna have to come back. See, this is where it's hard. You get distracted for a second, and you're suddenly too far away. All right, so we're gonna level off here. Increase my altitude a bit. All right, there we go. We're 16 nautical miles out from we're 16 nautical miles out. So for our indicators here, we have our speedometer, we have our altimeter, we have our pitch and roll indicator, and then this is our navigation aid. And this is all we need. So we're just going to be flying heads down using this because there is nothing for us to see outside anyway. And I overturned because I keep getting distracted. So we want to put this arrow on 90 degrees to our left to be able to keep it at the same distance. So we want to get closer. We have to put it a little less than 90 degrees off our left. And if you can see on my right MFD here, there's a little point that says "Be OK." That is a point that's just past the end of the ILS range. So ideally, we should end up at about that point when we finish all of this, and then be ready to capture the ILS glide slope. which will guide us down into the runway until we can see it. All right, we're at 15.1 nautical miles. So now we just keep this at 15 roughly nautical miles. And I don't have to worry about pitch because autopilot's handling, keeping me at the same altitude. But as soon as this blue line lines up with the other pointer, we're going to make our left turn. This is so worrying. It's just like you're gonna blindly fly into a mountain, and I know there are no mountains around, and we're close enough to our safe altitude according to the approach chart that we should be fine, but it still makes me nervous. Excuse me. Can at least see for a bit. There's about 3.5 nautical miles of visibility, which, 3 miles of visibility, that's quite a lot for when you're driving, right? But for an airplane, oh geez, that's short. That is not a lot of time to line up with something. All right, we see that blue line starting to move. We're nearing our point. A point where we got to turn. All right, I did that too early. Let's wait for it to get center. All right, and then we switch to PLS TACAN, which is our ILS system. We're going a bit fast, so we're gonna turn a little harder than normal, because your turning radius is gonna depend heavily on your speed. Make sure that we actually do keep our speed up though. And we've got a little dot on our HUD. There's a dot with 3 lines coming out of it, and then just a dot. We want to put the dot with 3 lines along that singular normal dot. And then you'll see there's a couple of dashed lines. Those are our ILS indicators, so it tells us where we are on the glide slope. So what we're going to do is we're going to try to intercept the glide slope by flying straight until that top line comes down. And we will contact tower, request a landing. They should allow us now.
Warhawk 2-1, Kunshan Tower. Continue inbound for runway 18. Report on final.
We'll just tell them that we are on final. We will drop our gear and our speed brakes.
Warhawk 2-1, Kunshan Tower. Continue inbound.
Throttle up a bit.
Runway 18.
Our ECM off. We don't need that on. Autopilot turned off. Gotta keep this steady ourselves. We got 3 green lights, landing gears down. And now I promise there is a runway at the end of that dot. We just can't see it yet. We are 9 miles out, so yeah, we can't see it. Still below the glide slope, so I'm trying to fly level here. Might have dropped our gear a bit too early. We saw that top line went from dashed to solid, and it's now starting to move down, which means we're starting to get in the glide slope. We want it centered, though. Six miles out. Don't expect to see the runway yet. We've got a crosswind. We got a wind of 13 knots. It's quite bad. Oh, we can see the runway just barely now. There it is. So now we can set up for a visual approach. This is just our standard. We got to put that meatball on the runway. We got to come left too.
Tower, wing 120 at 9 knots. Runway 18 cleared for landing. Check gear down.
Gear is down and locked. Just to check again, we need to come a bit left. Let's apply some throttle to keep us up. All right, now we're on center. Come right. And now we just have to ease her on the approach. And we're down. That's another kind of rough landing. Let's get our nose